to support the platform just in case anything like this happens again, you can do it by way of PayPal, Patreon, Cash App, and also by the Anchor. And you can also further support the platform by way of going to the Teespring store or the shoe store that is located in the comment section below.
Accused of carjacking a truck with a grandmother and baby inside is expected back in court for hearing on Monday. She faced the victims for the first time on Thursday.
It was never my intentions to cause harm to anyone. I want to start off by saying thank you for stopping to help me when I was in need. I wasn't in my right state of mind at that time. You didn't have to stop, but out of the goodness and kindness of your heart, you did. And unfortunately, things took a wrong turn, and I truly and sincerely apologize for my actions that night.
This was back in court in 2019 when Alexis Facey was allegedly driving under the influence and crashed into a ditch on I-95. Now, Good Samaritans stopped to help, and that's when investigators say she got into one of their cars and drove off. A woman, her grandchild, and 2 dogs were inside that car. 2 Good Samaritans chased her before getting into a crash. Facey also got into a crash and was taken into custody.
Alexis Facey, a single mother, attended a friend's birthday party at Tootsie's Strip Club in Miami Gardens. After a free shots of liquor and many drinks, she climbed into her car and drove off. Quote, "All I remember is waking up in a police car." Facey had caused a trail of mayhem on April 10th, 2019, crashing alongside Interstate 95, then carjacking the truck of a man who stopped to help. His 63-year-old mother, an infant baby, and 2 dogs in the back. That led to a frantic chase, which ended with Facey plowed the stolen truck into 2 other vehicles in Miramar. The driver of one of those vehicles had to be extricated from her mangled SUV, her knee and ankle shattered, and her liver lacerated. The judge overseeing the case also rejected prosecutors' request to sentence Facey with 20 years in prison and went below the minimum of the sentencing guidelines for 15 and a half years. She pointed out that the state routinely accepts minimum mandatory plea deals of 4 years in prison for DUI manslaughter cases in which someone passes. The judge also pointed out several egregious traffic cases involving deaths in which prosecutors offered less prison time than what they were asking for in Facey's case. One example is a case of Shekinah Hasty. 2006 Chevrolet Impala smashed into a 2005 Toyota Corolla sedan at the intersection of Northwest 119th Street and 17th Avenue on Mother's Day. Now, for each member of that tragic trio, Hasty faces a charge of DUI manslaughter and vehicular homicide, 6 felonies in all. Hasty was released Saturday after making a $120,000 bond and $20,000 for each charge. The accident report states that a Toyota containing driver Paul Manriza, Ramon Castro, Ramon's nephew Roger Varela Castro, and Varela Castro's fiancee Maricela Villafan was in the intersection and turning left from southbound 17th Avenue to eastbound 119th Street. Hasty, going north on 17th Avenue, ran a red light before T-boning the 1,000-pound less lighter Toyota in the passenger side. Only Manriza survived. From 2004 to 2010, Hasty received 7 license suspensions for failing to pay tickets, among them several for driving without a license. She straightened out as a driver well enough to have a valid license and no citations since 2010, when the accident occurred May 8th. As of today, Hasty is now in prison on 1 count of DUI manslaughter. She's set to be released December 13th of 2026. Without a plea deal, Facey had earlier pleaded guilty to felony charges including robbery, carjacking, kidnapping, and driving under the influence involving serious property damage and serious bodily injury. Facey's defense attorney vied for a shorter sentencing, stating that the crime was an isolated incident and was unsophisticated without premeditation or malice. Quote, "This is someone who I think probably had the worst night of her life, as the victim did as well. I don't think one bad night should ruin your life." So before a lot of people decide to come through and try to defend this woman, I just want to reiterate that this woman is a single mother, which means that she decided to take actions which led to a certain event. Then after that, she decided that she wanted to go to a friend's birthday party at a strip club, of which she had free drinks on top of other drinks, right? Then on top of that, she then decided not only to take all of those drinks, she opted not to get a lift. She opted not to get into an Uber. She opted not to call a cab. She opted not to get a ride from any of her friends or to call somebody, right, to come pick her up. She decided that she was well enough to go out after drinking and drive her own vehicle. And not only did she drive her own vehicle and cause an incident, but she also stole somebody else's vehicle, which is a carjacking. And then not only did she do that, but she also cost lives. This is what it looks like when you have a world that does not hold women realistically accountable for anything that they do. Now, some people may say, well, oh, you're taking it a little bit too far. She's being held accountable in court. I just told you another incident where a woman ended up taking some lives and she's going to be released. What was it? December 13th of 2026. She took a 10-year, she took a 10-year plea deal. And then you have Miss Hasty here, who her lawyer was like, hey, it is what it is. She did do it, but it's an isolated incident. She wasn't really trying to go out there and do it. It was just an honest mistake. She wasn't really in her right mind. She's a single mother, for Christ's sake. And, they pretty much got her 5 years. She got her 5 years, even though the families involved are going to be suffering for a lifetime. Somebody has to let me know, how is that fair? How is that logical? Because it's not. My main thing that I've always stated to people is that if you do the crime, you do the time, which means that if you decide to go out here in whatever consciousness that you have left, and you are under the influence of whatever substance you are under, and you decide to drive a vehicle or commit to some reckless action and you take somebody's life, it should be a life for life. So I'm sorry to say, but I don't care that she is a single mother. That child is just going to have to be without a mother due to the fact of the actions that she decided to commit to. Maybe if Miss Hasty actually thought about things fully through, then we wouldn't even have to have this conversation or this story. Maybe if the other woman that I listed to you thought about her actions differently, we wouldn't have to talk about that story either. But like I said before, this is what it looks like when a world does not hold women accountable fully for the things that they decide to do and the actions that they decide to commit to, even if those actions directly affect the lives of many people, taking those lives of many people.